This is a production of the LPL Podcast Network.
Welcome to Dynamic Thriving Podcast. This podcast will assist you in your quest to be, do, and have anything you desire by highlighting coaches, intuitives, energy specialists, and light workers. This is your host, Mary Ann Pack, spiritual guide and oracle for the many. Welcome, everyone, to Dynamic Thriving Podcast. I am so happy that you are here with us. And this is your host, Mary Ann Pack, your spiritual guide into all things life transformational. And today we have a delightful guest. You've probably heard her before on other shows that I've had. And my dear friend and colleague, Manda Stack of My Divine Intuition, is joining us. Welcome, Manda.
Hello, Mary Ann. Thank you so much for having me back. It's great to be with you.
I am so happy you're here. Our conversations are always a blessing to me, and I know to everyone who listens. So today, I really want to set our intention. Our topic today is finding our intuitive yes. So let's commit to hear from our intuition so that we know what our intuitive yes, and maybe no, or maybe pause. So just building a relationship. Just keep in mind that you're wanting to build a relationship with your intuition, with your inner being, your inner source, your soul. So I just would like, Amanda, if you would tell us a little bit about who you are and what good you bring into the world. Because I know, but not everyone gets to know you.
Thank you. I'm an intuitive coach, an energy clearing specialist, and I'm a professional intuitive, which means that I have developed my intuitive abilities and am able to access information for other people that may not be readily available. And I do that through coaching. I do that through energy clearing out maybe some old stagnant blocks or beliefs or energy that may be preventing people from connecting with their own inner wisdom, their own intuition. And the name of my business is My Divine Intuition. I come from a background of pastoral ministry and ordained ministry of 23 years as a church pastor, and very firmly anchored in that tradition. And along the way, I was developing and really interested in some of the more alternative healing arts. And I would go off and get training and certification and things like energy clearing. And was really excited about expanding this work. And so eventually I made the decision to say goodbye to my church work and move into serving people in a different way and building my business. And I still like what you said, Mary Ann, about intuition is connecting with our soul. Mm-hmm. And I believe and know very strongly in my heart that we are gifted with this ability to, we are all wired with intuition. It's just that most of us have lost connection with it. And it really is a gift. And I believe it's a gift from the divine. It's meant as something for us to tune into and use and be aware of, to not be afraid of or think it's woo-woo or scary or something out of the realm of something that we should be participating in. So I see myself as a bridge between, especially folks who might come from a church background where they got the message that, things like intuition are maybe of the devil, quote, of the devil, or things that you shouldn't be dabbling in. And I'm here with a different message that God created us, the divine created us in a way to beautifully and authentically live this life in so many different capacities.
I so agree because, I came from a very religious, strict background, very conservative. And this probably would have been something that would have been taboo, something that we shouldn't have dabbled in. But yet I find so much peace and joy when I listen to my intuition, because I feel like that's that God spark, that God intelligence that's flowing through us, that power that backs our lives. And so, yes, I so agree. When I started also developing a relationship with my inner being, that's when my intuition started flowing. When I made the decision that it's time for me to dig deeper into who I am and how I'm made up and who I'm made up of, where life brings us so much more joy. And so now it's just like, this is such a delight to have the ability to tap into this intuition, because I feel like it is messages from God.
Yes, it's messages from God. It's a more rich and abundant way of living. And one of my favorite verses in the Christian scriptures is when Jesus said that I came to give you life so that you might have abundant life. And that word abundance, I mean, so many of us live our lives so caught up in our minds and head and worries, just getting through the day and with a very narrow focus. And I think that feels to me like the opposite of abundance, the opposite of what the divine wants for us. And like what you were saying, Mary Ann, it is, it's about joy. It's about connection and peace in our hearts.
I so agree. And I think we really don't have that joy until we make that connection. Because to me, that's just blending the mind body with the spirit. That's coming into the wholeness of who we are. So it rounds out our lives and makes our lives so much more full and rich and deep. And I just love that. So our topic today is your intuitive yes, how to make the right decision every time. So how do we know our intuitive yes, and that we don't second guess ourselves? How can we be so assured that this is our intuitive yes?
Yeah, excellent question. And I want to start by inviting you and everyone who's listening to think about a time when you did have an intuitive yes, and however you want to call it, a gut feeling, a yes, some sort of intuitive hit or some sensation, or some inner knowing of a direction that you were meant to go in. And you, in hindsight, you did not do it. And you wish you would have. Or even if it was an intuitive no, like, oh, I really shouldn't do that. Like you got a gut response like, no, I shouldn't do that. But you went ahead and did it anyway. And after the fact, it's like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Well, we have all had probably multiple experiences like that where we knew our intuitive yes or no in that moment, but for a variety of reasons, we overrode that. And I'll share an example from my own life. And when I was, I had moved to a new area and was starting to date and wanted to get into a relationship, into a partnership. And so I went on a first date with a guy that I had been set up with, and ended up being my now ex-husband. I think you can see where this story is going. But what happened was, so we met at a restaurant, and I sat down across the booth from him in the restaurant. And just in the first maybe 30 seconds of meeting him and starting to greet each other and whatnot, I had this little voice that said, oh, he's not the one. Really quickly, almost kind of neutral, not like warning lights, like, don't stay, he's not the one. It was just really clear and gentle and firm. He's not the one. And I remember hearing that And then, of course, I didn't want to just get up and leave. I was like, what does that mean? Even like, wait, I'm just starting here. And so, we had our meal together and talked, and he was funny and nice, and we had a good time. And of course, ended up going on some more dates, and I was lonely. Didn't really know anyone. And so I think, like many of us, I overruled that inner knowing for lots of logical, maybe reasons that, would make sense, right? There was nothing particularly wrong with him. And so, we went along and eventually married, and 2.5 years later, divorced. It wasn't meant to be. And that's one of those hindsight experiences that I think many of us have gone through, where we did have an inner knowing about a yes or a no, and we didn't follow it. And that's not to say, Marianne, that it was necessarily even the wrong decision, because we all go through what would we call them? Growth experiences, right?
Right.
We come out the other end wiser, with more experience. And, the flip side is we have the ability to save ourselves a lot of time and heartache and maybe money and difficult experiences when we learn to really hear, trust, and act on our inner wisdom, our inner yes, our inner no. And I'm sharing this story because I'm sure we all have experiences just like that. And I'm passionate about helping all of us get much better at tuning in and having a relationship, just like what you said at the start of our time together, that this really is a two-way street. Our intuition has something to tell us, and we can talk back and forth with it.
I definitely agree with that. It is definitely a conversation, because in relationships, you build a relationship because you're in conversation. You don't say, I'm going to build a relationship with that person and never spend time with them. You get to know them. You spend time with them. You hear their voice. You understand the tones. So it's a relationship. And also, don't you think that a lot of our intuitive yes and no, like you said, it was just a very quick, clear message, but it was quiet. It was like a whisper.
That's
And
very often how our intuition connects with us. Yes. And that it's so subtle. And one of the things I'm going to talk about today is how we can, that we really, intuition is an embodied experience. And when we are caught up in our minds with our worries and fears and plans, there's not much room for our intuition to get through. Or if it does, we dismiss it, or we don't catch it, or we think it's our imagination. And so a big piece of learning to hear, know, and trust and act on our inner yes, our intuitive no, intuitive yes, is being able to become more embodied, to quiet down all the external noise, the internal chatter, mind chatter, so that we have space to hear and connect with our inner knowing.
I agree. I think that's why, for me, meditation, quiet mind meditation, is so important, because the point is I'm quieting my thoughts, and at the same time I'm quieting resistant thoughts that might be that chatter, that doubt, or that worry, or fretting, or so that I'm actually open to hearing. I mean, meditation is so many times when I receive a download or see the image of an animal spirit or something. It's always, because again, it's a whisper. So our intuition is always whispering to us. So we have to be quiet and listen. There can't be all these distractions. We have to spend some time. If you're building a relationship with someone, you don't go to the noisiest place every time you get together to get to know somebody. You like pull apart.
Mm.
You set aside quiet time that it's just you and the person you're developing a relationship with. It's the same thing. We want to pull away. We want to have some quiet time that we're not distracted. There's not a bunch of noise going on. It's that quiet stillness, that is and when you're talking about your intuitive yes and no, it's not an audible voice. To talk about some of the ways that these messages can come through, because I know mine seem to change all the time depending on what maybe I need to hear.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
talk a little bit about some of the ways these intuitive messages comes through.
sure. Think about the five senses that you have. Each of your intuitive abilities are connected with those. And some people have like one primary way of getting intuitive information. Marianne, it sounds like you have a variety.
Mhm.
And you can actually grow your abilities in each of these categories: sight, smell, hearing, taste, feel, sensation. So, thinking about each of your five senses, there are connections with what's going on inside. For example, when I'm doing energy clearing, I get pretty clear intuitive impressions, usually often through all five senses.
Mhm.
And I have worked for many years developing this, so it comes more easily to me. And I one of the questions I often get asked is, how can I be intuitive? And it's through practice, it's through intention, it's through, like you said, creating some protected, quiet time with yourself. So, for example, I was doing an energy clearing for someone, and as I was clearing, I had like a physical pain in my elbow, and I have learned that anytime I get a sensation in my body, or see a visual, or hear some words like a message or a phrase, when I'm in that intuitive mode, it's not mine. It's actually on behalf of the person I'm working with. So, for example, I had this elbow pain, and I have learned over time that I just put it out there. I say, I'm experiencing a bit of elbow pain, and I'm curious if you either have an old injury there, or if that means anything to you. And in this case, my client said, "Oh my gosh, yes, actually an old, I fell down the stairs when I was a teenager and cracked my elbow, and I had gone to physical therapy for a while." And now she was in her 50s, but she had noticed recently that the elbow pain had returned, and she had been thinking about it recently, like, do I need to go back to physical therapy? Has it been re-injured? Or is there some other message here? So, and that's just one example. And that was for her, that was a message for her to take in and figure out what it really meant. And I often find that if there are physical pains, that's often a signal. Yes, please go to the doctor and get checked out. And in addition, it's often your body sending up a signal that's an invitation for you to ask some questions, like, what was going on in that teenager's life where she fell down the stairs? And is there something she needs to kind of revisit at this point in her life to do some more healing around? So, okay, I just put that out as an example of people, those of you who are listening, you may get physical sensations, which could be like a tingling, or a warm sensation, or even like a little physical pain, which can be a little nudge that it's an invitation to pay attention to. Or the example I used from the restaurant booth, where I actually heard that little phrase, he's not the one. I often hear little phrases or words, or sometimes a little piece of music lyric comes to me, or a little bit of a song, and I find myself repeating it in my mind, and then I become conscious of it, and then I'm like, oh, what does this mean for me today? Yeah.
I like that. And there's other ways too. I mean, I know you've done some work with oracle cards, and I love oracle cards and affirmation cards, and um, being in nature. We get a lot of signs when we're in nature because, again, we're in that loving mode of enjoyment. And when we're enjoying ourselves and we're at peace, and the trees or nature or streams or wherever we are, we're ready. It's like we're open to receive those messages. Can you speak to just a little bit about some of those other, like sometimes we see other signs around us?
The
I mean,
external,
not necessarily in our, external, I guess.
Yep. Beautiful. Beautiful. Yes. External signs. So, like you said, in nature is a wonderful way to open ourselves up, and paying attention as you go about your day to what crosses your path. Maybe you are out on the sidewalk walking and you see a white feather, and then you're walking later on that day and you happen to see another feather. Especially if you see things in multiples, that's often a clue to pay a little bit of attention and to ask yourself, well, what does a feather mean to me? And you might want to go research a little bit about feathers and just play around with it. Don't be real serious about it, but just kind of lightly hold it and invite some more information about it. See how it might relate to whatever it is you're dealing with in your life at that time. And one thing you can do is just ask a question at the start of your day, like what information do I need to know about so-and-so or such situation? And then hold that lightly in your thoughts as you go about your day, and be aware with all your senses, visually, auditory. Maybe you'll hear a little overhear a conversation where someone says exactly what where that it's for you as well. There's a beautiful ways of receiving external intuitive information as well. And that's another reason to get out of our minds and our thinking and our narrow focus, so that we can be open and available to what information wants to present itself to us.
I absolutely love that you say to ask a question, because asking is inviting life force to come in. It's summoning life force. So you're actually stirring energy when you ask a question. So when you're doing that, then you're being receptive to what an answer might be. And like she said, many times it's multiples. You'll see it, 3 days in a row, or you'll hear 3 different conversations that happen to go, and you put it together. And it's not your mind that's putting it together. It's your intuition who is giving you that same message over and over again, so that you don't miss it.
So you don't miss it. That is so funny. You know what I noticed just this morning has been coming? It's only twice. So if it comes a third time, I'm really going to pay attention. But something, and it's so random and bizarre, but it's something about the band, the Bee Gees. And I have no idea. And if it's a particular song or something, but it's shown up. It's little bits of a song, or about one of the band members. So, and the second time it showed up, I'm like, my little antenna went up, like, oh, okay. So I'm open if a third time something wants to show up, and I'm just, again, be lighthearted about it, play around with it, see what, and it could be something as silly and random as, as the Bee Gees. It doesn't have to be some, real, totem, like animal totem thing, although that's amazing when it happens as well, but it can be silly things as well.
Absolutely. Our intuition has a sense of humor.
It does, totally.
Because there are times when I get messages from my spirit guides, the many, And I'll be either writing down or I've asked a question and I'm recording it on my voice recorder or something. And then they'll just make a funny. And then sometimes they'll even go, ha, like, did you get that one? We just made a funny.
Oh,
I love it. It's light. Don't think that just because this is, spiritual work or whatever, that it's some serious, heavy thing that you have to, I'm going to sit and hear from my inner being now.
right.
It's not that. It's, they're chomping at the bit to talk to us.
Yes.
So it's like they want this relationship. They're going, yes, yes, yes. She's ready to hear something. Here's a little sign. Here's something fun. So I absolutely love that. Because this is also about how to make right decisions for us. Can you speak to a little bit about that? How do we know when our intuitive yes, or maybe a no, or maybe just a wait, not just now, that it's right for this decision-making time?
Yep. Great question. And I want to share around that. I want to share 3 techniques that are all slightly different, that anyone can do that will help them tune into their intuitive yes or intuitive no. And so I'll just go through them and explain what they are and offer them. The first one, and they're all 3 have to do with their somatic sensing, which means of the body. And remember, we've been talking about how you need to be able to come in and anchor into your physical body in order to hear your intuition. So each of these 3 techniques has that element to it. The first is called a sway test. And it's a self-testing technique. There's a little art to it. It's usually pretty easy. It's one of the more popular ones and easy for anybody to do. I'm going to verbally explain it. And what it does is it taps into the language of communication that from your inner body, from your energy field. So what you do is you stand kind of with about shoulder distance apart with your feet, and don't lock your knees, and just kind of stand there easily and gently and anchor yourself there. And then what you do is you ask yourself a series of questions that have a very clear yes answer. And I'm talking about things like, my name is Manda. I live in Wisconsin. And I do, by the way, for those of you who don't know. I have a cat, again, I do. So clear yes answers. And when you do, you're going to see what your body does when you ask those. You're going to make the statement, my name is Manda, and see what your body wants to do. And usually it will want to sway. And very often on the yes, it will sway forward, like as if you're moving towards something. And you often feel the pull from somewhere around your midsection, like around the belly area, or sometimes around the heart. And it's very subtle and gentle. It's not like it's going to knock you over, but you'll definitely feel a sensation of moving forward. And then you repeat that with 3 really firm no statements, like, my name is Frank. I live in Timbuktu. I have a tarantula, and then see what your body does. And very often it will move backward a little bit. It will sway backward. And that is your body's knowing. And then what you can do is, when you get good at that, good at feeling your yes and your no, you can start asking questions about other things. This is a technique that I personally use. In fact, I think I just used it last night on things like vitamins and supplements. Like, I don't necessarily take something every single day, but I ask my body. I would hold the bottle of whatever it is. I think in this case it was melatonin. It was the evening. I was like, it would be beneficial for me to take melatonin now. Yes or no? And I got a no. It pushed me back just very gently. So I'm like, okay. And I've learned to trust that, like, not tonight. Okay, that's all right. If you get no movement, that's often a more neutral answer. And that can be either yes or no. It's usually more of a, maybe not right now, or ask again later. So that's the sway test. And you can use it for, anything. When I first learned this technique, I had so much fun in the grocery store, kind of discreetly. I would like hold a can of beans and say, this can of beans is good for me. And I would either sway either back or forward, or I'd hold an orange. This orange is beneficial for me. And I had so much fun. So I invite you all to play around with the sway test.
I like how you keep saying to play around with it. Again, it's lighthearted. It is not, and this is very much, the sway test you're talking about, when you ask very definite yeses and nos. And that is a lot like muscle testing.
Yep.
If
And
I'm testing someone for a particular supplement, I want to ask their body if do they need this one? Or maybe it's this different blend. And when I'm trying to distinguish between one or the other, then I can get those answers. So yes, I totally agree. This is definitely something your body knows. Your body knows.
Yeah. And kinesthetic testing like that, you obviously are skilled at doing that on behalf of other people. Yes. And, after people practice it for a while, you can achieve that level of skill at it. And I really want to empower people to be able to do that for themselves as well. So, so they can, bring themselves into the decision-making process too. So that was the sway test. The second of the three that I'm sharing, this is just a verbalizing of yes and no, and how it feels in your body. So I'm going to invite everyone to just close your eyes, and I'm going to repeat the word yes a number of times here. And I want, as you hear the word yes, I want you to feel into your body how it feels. And it may feel expansive, it may feel lighter or more open, however it feels for you. So just allow the vibrations and the sound of the word yes to wash over you, and tune into how it feels. Here we go. Yes. 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 And take a breath and open your eyes and see if you noticed, maybe it was located somewhere in particular in your body. Notice anything, Marianne?
I did. It was upper. It was almost kind of like my shoulders wanted to come forward. And just in having my eyes closed, the vision in the darkness just kind of went, yes, a little bit brighter. It was like waves. Every time you said yes, the wave got just a little brightness in my closed eyes, in my mind's eye. So yeah, it was the shoulders and the chest wanting to kind of lean into it. Yeah.
Okay. So now you have a sensate feeling of what your yes is, and even some visual too. I love that. And for those of you listening, now you have that too, so that you have this felt sense of yes. So you have something to hold on to and compare and feel into for when you're implementing your own intuitive yes. Let's do the same thing now for your intuitive no. I'm going to invite you to close your eyes and feel into or see what shows up even visually in your mind's eye, or where you feel it in your body. As I repeat the word no, allow the vibration and the sound of the word no to wash over you as you tune in. Here we go. No. 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 no, 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 no. All right, take a breath. Come back. All right.
Mm,
Did you have
very
any,
good.
did you notice anything with that one, Marianne?
Yeah, it was like, kind of where my yes started. This was like my no was kind of here and below, like through my tummy, through my hips. It's like every time you said no, I got just a flash of energy wanting to go backwards a little bit. Yeah.
That's really valuable information, what you're sharing there. And, now that you have this baseline reading of yes and no in your body, that is a tool, that's a resource that you will have from now on. So we just played with energy a little bit here,
Mhm.
and this is going to be available for you going forward. So thank you for playing along with the verbal yes and no.
Absolutely.
Love that. Now the third is called the traffic light visualization. Now, of course, our traffic lights are, green means go, yellow means slow down, red means stop, right? So anyone here who has a driver's license and has driven, you know that, you need to pay attention to traffic signals. So let's again kind of feel into our body, and I invite you to close your eyes and imagine that you're driving along a road and you're a good cautious driver, so you're paying attention to everything around you, and you know that a traffic light is coming up, so you see it in the distance, and you see off in the distance that it is still green, but you know that there's a chance it may turn to yellow. So feel how it feels in your body as you're driving up to this traffic light, and then, okay, you see it blinks to the yellow, to the middle one, and it turns yellow. How does your body feel as it turns yellow? And now, as you're driving closer to the traffic signal, of course, you're slowing down, you're getting ready to stop, and then you see it turn red. How does your body feel when it turns red? And stay there. Stay there. You're going to wait at the traffic signal until it turns green, and you're watching it. It's still red. All right, you're watching it. All right, it flips to green. Good to go. How does your body feel when the traffic light is green? And you drive on forward, and you're on your way. All right, take a breath and come back and open your eyes. I'd like to invite Marianne. How was that for you? What did you notice?
This is different. I remember we did this. I've done this particular red light, green light, yes and no practice with her before. And in that time, I remember my green when I was sitting at the stoplight, my chest kind of leaned forward and like, oh, go, we're ready to go. And yet this time it was more the driving sensation of, when you put brakes on, you kind of, you feel the pressure down on your vehicle, your tires slowing you down. And so I don't know how I got it. It was just opposite. This one, because I felt the driving of it. It was more the sensation of stopping, like you're putting your brakes on like this to stop yourself from falling forward. And then when I was go is like, I tend to be a fast driver. So, I tromp the gas and, you get thrown back in the seat. So I don't know if I didn't do it right.
So Marianne, you went on a wild ride.
I did. I did. I like brakes and I like gas pedals.
That is funny. Well, actually, you bring up an interesting point, because yes, our bodies, or we get this intuitive yes or intuitive no. And we, like you said, it's a two-way conversation. We have a part in making the decision to follow the intuitive yes or the intuitive no. We need to use our logical mind. It may be an intuitive yes right now, but it's actually, you should probably put the brakes on because of this other piece of information. It may not be the right time at this moment. So, red light, green light isn't carte blanche to just, go all out and completely follow your intuition. So it's a complex balance of all of that. But I really am advocating for everyone to bring on board this beautiful partner of their inner wisdom, their inner knowing, to be part of the conversation and a full-fledged. What would it be like to have, consider your intuition like the CEO of your life, like helping to, get the lay of the land and run things and be part of the decision-making process. Yeah.
Yes. But the thing is, even though it was kind of opposite of the feeling I had before, because my intuitive no, the first time we did it, it was like it's sitting in this chair. It felt like my hips were pulled down and back, like it seated me harder in the chair. Even though it was the sensation of driving, of putting on the brakes and kind of falling forward, kind of, to stop yourself from going forward. It was still a definite, this is no. So it wasn't like it confused me, because it was the sensation of driving, actually being in a vehicle. So it was a different feeling than the first time I went through it with you, because I was very much just feeling the chair instead of feeling like I was actually in a vehicle. Because it was certainly clear. I knew that I was putting on the brakes. That was my no. That was my stop. Mm-hmm. So it was still clear to me. And my yes was, let's take off and go. Here we go.
Awesome.
So it didn't confuse me to the feeling that I was getting, because again, my mind's eye was playing more in the vehicle. So, it's not like
we are, each of us are in the driver's seat of our own lives, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And that's what I was talking about. A lot of times things, they shift a little bit, or we get different messages at different times, but there's still a knowing. There's still that deep knowing, even though, like I said, my situation was a little different in both of these exercises. I still knew which one was which. I had that knowing of which one was which.
Very good. So, and our intuition does change and evolve through time. Yeah. Yes.
Yes, because even when I started receiving messages from the many, I would pose my question at the top of my sheet, or ask what I need to know about today, or whatever. And it started actually in a written format. The very first time I did it, I started writing, and the first few letters were kind of in my style of writing. And then all of a sudden my hand started slanting real hard to the right, which I don't write that way. So I knew it was like, oh, here they come. And then, to be able to actually voice record a message, and then now go into video recording their message. So that's part of growing that relationship. It develops over time, and you get more comfortable with it.
That's a beautiful example of how your own inner wisdom and abilities have evolved. And everyone listening, this is developing your intuitive abilities is a practice, and it takes some commitment. And, Marianne, I've witnessed the beautiful evolution of your own abilities and playfulness and lightheartedness along the way. And it's really coming online in a really strong way that's of great service to so many people.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I do want you to will you speak to decisions, and sometimes the energy of decisions? What does making a decision, the energy of that, create? Because indecision just feels horrible, and making a decision feels like relief or something. Speak to the energy of decision making.
Yes. Well, it's such an important piece of the topic of intuition, because we make so many decisions every day. There's actually a study from Cornell University about how many decisions an adult makes every day. And the numbers are staggering when I first learned them. Did I ever share this with you, Marianne?
No. I looked up how many thoughts we had in a day,
Oh,
like
yeah.
60,000 to 80,000 thoughts. So I'm thinking that's a lot of thoughts and probably a lot of decisions that we just boom, boom, boom. I want this, I want that. I don't want that.
Yeah.
So go ahead, speak to that.
All right. So everyone get a number in mind of how many decisions you think an adult makes every day.
Okay.
And the answer is 35,000 decisions per day.
Oh my gosh, I just got chill bumps all down my legs.
Amazing. I know. And a lot of them are like little micro decisions that we make. For example, if you're sitting there working on the computer, you think in the back of your mind, I should really get up and stretch, or I should really get up and get something to drink. And you're constantly returning to that. Yes or no. Should I do it now or should I do it later? Should I continue reading this article or stop? Like those little decisions that just, we're making all the time. And so having a clear connection with your intuitive yes and intuitive no goes a long way in streamlining your day. It opens up creativity. It releases the drag on you. And like you said, an unmade decision is a drag. The author Brene Brown said that we often think that not making a decision is neutral, but it's not. She says it's defaulting our life away. Because I know that sometimes, when we do have a decision to make, we say, oh, I'll deal with it later, or not yet. And by setting it aside or putting it off, it does drain our energy. It is a great energetic and emotional wear on us. And so the better at making decisions, and not necessarily that we have to make them quick. Some people need time to process and feel into it, and maybe need to get more information and do some research, and that's all fine. It's just, why put so much unconscious energy into, it's almost like a beach ball, that you want to hold, I don't want to deal with this decision right now, so I'm going to hold it under the water. And that beach ball wants to rise back up, and you're exerting this force to hold it down and under the water. And that takes energy that you could be using for so many other wonderful things in your life. So, decisions are a big part of how we can use our intuition and not get caught in overthinking. So, think about it, everybody. What would be different in your life if you were able to rely on your intuition more and trust it? How do you think your day would flow more differently? And what would be available if you're able to easily perceive, trust, and act on your inner wisdom?
I love that. Yes, the ease and the flow, and it's like you've had a hard decision and you finally decide, okay, I got to make this decision, and you do it. Don't you remember how just relief floods you, and you go, oh, okay, that decision is made. Yeah. And then now all I have to do is just line up with it and follow the decision that I made. But it's relief. Mm-hmm. It's such an energetic relief. And to me, decision making again is you're calling life force. As soon as you make that decision, that relief is because your intuition, your inner being just flooded you with life force, and to bring you that energy to fulfill that decision that you just made.
And that makes me think about the definition of decision, like the root word of decision. I think it comes from the Latin word decidere, which means to cut off. So one of the reasons we hesitate to make decisions is because we know that we're saying yes to something, but it's going to mean no to something else. And, out of fear or out of comfort, we don't want to let go of some things. So just, making a decision is, is an energetic act of letting go, of cutting something off, but for a greater good, for a greater reason, for your growth, your well-being. So it's maybe cutting something off that was not, not as supportive, or maybe it was perfectly good, but you've outgrown it. And those, sometimes those decisions can be the hardest, actually.
Yes. Outgrowing, absolutely. When we have, it's sort of like when we pivot, even in our business or in our lives, we know we've been doing it this way all along, but it's sort of like we've outgrown it, and now it's time to just release that and move into that new blossoming area of our business or our life, and really, when you make the decision, again, even if you're letting something go, it's still relief that you made the decision. It's still a forward motion, and that's what we're always striving for, is forward motion, forward thinking, the energy going forward. So when we make decisions, a lot of times we have to remember this is for our highest good. And we can ask our inner being that if we're futzing with a decision and kind of in turmoil about it, what is for my highest good? Expect an answer. We can expect an answer as we're developing that relationship, because someone you love, if you ask them a question, you can expect an answer from someone you love and someone who loves you. They're not going to leave you high and dry.
Oh, Marianne, that's a huge, huge point. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
And even like you were talking about with the energy clearing that you do, when we kind of get stuck in that energy of indecision, or, just ho-hum, we've kind of tuned out to our inner being, and we're trying to tune back in, and we can't quite hear, and then we get a little frustrated, and then we, that's many times the times that, even for me as a coach, for who I am, I reach out for help.
Yes. Yeah.
I go to Manda and I say, I need a session. So your energy clearing does a lot of that to me. That stagnant, the stuff that we're trying to let go of. It won't, don't you think that's a lot with your energy?
Yeah. Yes. Often things that we're not even aware that are still hanging on us.
Yes.
Yeah. Old patterns, old beliefs, someone that we interacted with that we're still kind of ruminating about, that we can't quite let go of.
Yes, I definitely agree with that. It just helps so much to have someone, especially when you're in that kind of stuck time.
Yes, I agree, Marianne. I also reach out,
Yes.
and I reach out to other trusted people who I know can hold that ability and space and help me hear my inner wisdom. And it's not necessarily about someone else giving me the answer. It is about, and I really want to, caution against that for anyone listening. Because I used to do, when I was out, I would I would hire an intuitive or something, and sometimes the experiences were really not that helpful. They were more scary or disheartening than enlightening and beneficial. And I really want to invite everyone listening to be, if you do reach out to seek some support, to really be careful about who you are reaching out to. Make sure that there's someone trustworthy, maybe get some recommendations. Marianne is putting together this wonderful coaching group, people that she can recommend. Reach out to me if you're looking for some support as well, because there are a lot, unfortunately. I'm a professional intuitive, and I'm really careful about my ethics and working with people in ways that are respectful and empowering and not disempowering or putting fear into them. And unfortunately, there are some intuitives that are working that is their mode of working. And I'm sad to say that sometimes my clients have come to me after having had a rough experience with that. And I want to just head that off at the pass for anyone else who's listening here.
Absolutely. Yes, Manda mentioned I'm creating a coaching concierge membership where I will have coaches that I have vetted. I know them personally, so that when client members join the membership, they will be directed to these beautiful coaches that have integrity and are bringing such value to their clients, their coaching clients. So keep your eyes open for that. That's coming up in this coming year here. How can people work with you? Because I've worked with you over the years, and I want to share what you do with our audience, because this is really important for people to start. And I think more and more people are being open to starting to want something more, and they're maybe not quite sure what they're looking for, or maybe they've already started dabbling a little bit in building a relationship with their intuition, but they really want more. They want more life, more joy, more clarity. Mm-hmm. So how can people work with you, Manda?
My website is mydivineintuition.com, and I offer one-on-one heart and soul strategy coaching sessions where I help you hear your intuition. And I also offer energy clearing sessions where it's a different form of connecting with intuition, and it shifts the energy so that you are more in the flow and able to hear your inner wisdom. And if anyone would like to get a taste of working with me at no cost, I have on my website a complimentary intuitive decision-making guide that you can download at mydivineintuition.com/guide, or just go on my website and take a look there. And it offers, I've put some thought into and created this guide with and offers 7 different techniques that you can use to access your inner wisdom, your intuition. And Marianne had mentioned oracle cards earlier. That's one of the tools in my free guide that I personally use fairly often and very effectively. So if you have not yet worked with oracle cards yourself, that would be a great starter way for you to get going with that. And I even recommend in there my favorite oracle card deck of all time. So that is in the guide if you want to get that. So yeah, again, I'm really excited for everyone who's listening to continue growing and practicing with that wonderful relationship that you have with your intuition. And I'd love to connect more with any of you who are listening. Just reach out to me again at mydivineintuition.com. And this is Manda Stack.
I love that, Manda. And let me tell y'all, I have used her decision-making guide when she very first put it out a couple of years ago. And I picked out one particular thing, and it was the non-dominant handwriting and allowing spirit to just write with my non-dominant hand. Tremendous. I still have that in my journal today. And I go back and look at that message that I received from my intuition. Also, I have been in her spirit circles. If you have not ever been in a group coaching program, this is another short way to kind of tip your toe in the water with coaching with Manda, because she offers these spirit circles every month. So tell us just a little bit about Spirit Circle, because I loved my experience with Spirit Circle.
Yeah.
Just that group energy that you don't get from one-on-one coaching, but yet they're both so very, very important So tell us about Spirit Circle, because I loved my experience with Spirit Circle.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, anytime a group gets together in that intentional energy, it is really powerful and you learn from one another. So I run Spirit Circle once a month on the second and third Monday of every month. And it's a group experience of having your energy cleared and hearing your intuition and getting clear on maybe some next steps that are ready for you on your unique path. And so that's on my website too. Take a look at Spirit Circle, and I'd love to have you join.
Yes, 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 yes. That Spirit Circle is just a really good way, because between the calls, you get a week to work on you and then come back together for the second call for that month. So take Manda up on some of these programs that she offers, some of these services, because it is really important for us to coach at this time. The energy shift that has been happening through 2020 and now going into 2021, there is a huge energy shift. You may be feeling it and you don't know what to do with it. This is the time to coach. I can't say that loud enough or strong enough for everyone to understand. We have to make coaching very normal. It has to be in our budget every year to do some kind of coaching, some kind of growth tool for ourselves.
Yes,
So,
yes.
yes.
I second
Yes.
that very strongly.
Well, do you have any wonderful words of wisdom you would like to close us out with today?
Sure. So I'm a wordsmith. I love looking at the etymology of words and where they came from. And I'll share with you that, we've been talking about intuition today. So I was curious and looked up the where that word came from. And it comes from the Latin word intuere. And what it means is to guard and to protect. So I invite all of you to know that you have within you the ability to receive intuitive information, either internally through your own senses or externally through what the universe or the divine wants to share with you. And it serves a really important purpose in your life. It is there to guard and protect you. And I would add to that, to guide you as you navigate along the path, along the journey of life. It is a forgotten resource, our intuition. And my passion is bringing it out in the open and helping people connect with their inner knowing, their intuition, and being in a joyful, active relationship with it.
Yes, yes, yes. Mm-hmm. It is a relationship. It's active. It's available. It is there for us to bring us joy and a complete feeling, a fulfilling, meaningful life of joy. So thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Be sure and subscribe to the podcast. This really, you'll not miss any of the podcast episodes, and you're also welcome to always visit my website, maryannpack.com, where you'll find all of my services, my offers, my free offerings that I have for a journal, and Ask the Many. I also have Intuition, which is the anointing oil recipe that I got from my spirit guides, which is a delightful essential oil blend. And I just so look forward to the next time we get to visit. And remember, you are joy, looking for a way to express.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Dynamic Thriving Podcast. Please like, comment, and be sure to subscribe. Also, visit our website, maryannpack.com, for all of our services. Remember, you are joy, looking for a way to express.